Now that we know Julie is a peach 1 shade match, we're going to customize the foundation for her complexion. So in Color Me Perfect Foundation, we can do all kinds of things. We can add certain colors if it wasn't yellow enough for her complexion. If she wanted to actually counteract too much yellow, we can add purple because those are complementary colors. But also we can tweak how the foundation is going to sit on her skin. So she likes more of a matte finish, right?
Definitely, yes.
And then also too, we could even add some nutrition for her skin. So there's so many benefits to Color Me Perfect Foundation that's customized exactly for our client. So she was sharing with me that she does want a matte finish and also that she has oilier skin. So we want to make sure we balance her skin throughout the day. So we're going to add a little bit of a slip. It's a silkening complex that's going to help with the foundation gliding on her skin. Then we're also going to add moisture complex that has a little bit of lipid balancing. And what lipid balancing does is it actually balances the oil in her skin. Because what happens is when you have oily skin, your skin automatically thinks when it's dry it has to secrete oil to balance it, when oftentimes it's water dry. Then we're going to add matte complex. This is going to help her skin stay matte throughout the day. She was explaining to me that her foundation typically doesn't last, and I hear that from so many of our clients. So adding that in is going to give her better longevity. So we're going to mix her formula up, and this allows us to kind of see how all of these magic, wonderful ingredients are great. Isn't it awesome? It's like our secret recipe.
Yes.
And like I said, it's customized just for you. Nobody else needs to know but you and your Color Me Perfect artist. Okay, so now we want to see how this is going to wear on her skin. So we'll test the foundation just along her jawline. When I'm applying this, you always want to know if it's going to disappear. Make sure you don't have to tweak any of the color because again, seeing it on a bigger patch of skin allows you to see. Another thing to consider too, when you're using a liquid mineral foundation, which is our Color Me Perfect formulas, they dry darker. So you want to wait that 30 to 60 seconds to allow to see the color. So never panic if you're applying it and you're seeing it start to dry a little bit darker. Always anticipate that when you're formulating. Sometimes too, when the clients get their foundation at home, the bottle may look lighter and they're thinking it's the wrong match, but once they apply it to their skin, it disappears perfectly. So as I'm putting this on the larger patch of skin, I'm seeing that the color is going in perfectly. Now, it takes a little bit of practice and experience when you're matching, but once you match, Color Me Perfect artists, we figure out formulas based on what you describe your client's skin is like. So it's really easy. It takes all the guesswork out. So go ahead and tilt here. As you can see, this matches perfectly with her neck. That is exactly what we want. Now, for the clients that would like it darker because they just always want to add more color to their skin, you can always use a bronzing powder to warm up the complexion or add darkness to it. You never want to make the foundation super dark so then it never blends with the neck because it looks like almost like their head's floating and it looks like it's detached. You don't want that when you're shade matching or even developing the formula. You want it to feel like it's just her skin as it's going on, gliding down her neck. So we know that this color is perfect. So then we're going to think about primers and three-dimensional pieces. Primers are going to add and fill in to the complexion texture irregularities. Texture irregularities, I think they haunt every single person, even young, like 14, 15-year-olds that suffer with acne and cystic acne. So Julie is not alone. Everyone suffers from it, so don't worry. But the good thing is we have magic products that are actually going to help fill those texture irregularities and balance out your skin. So there's two things that Julie talked to me about. There's a little bit of redness that she has, and then also she has just some slight fine lines around her lips, and she has a little bit of just enlarged pores. That's very typical for oily skin because their pores have excreted a lot of oil over the years, and the elasticity around the pore starts to loosen. Okay, so we're gonna start with our Perfect Canvas. Perfect Canvas is a primer that is, again, going to fill in any pores, texture, fine lines. And it's amazing because it feels like whipped mousse. It's very souffle-like.
Yeah, it feels really good when
you're
putting it on. Mm-hmm.
And it feels like it's effortless, like it's gliding on. It doesn't feel heavy. And we're going to put it on exactly any areas that she wants to correct. Because what happens is when we get those texture irregularities, we expect our foundation to fill them as well. And if you do use a foundation that fills them, the foundation actually looks heavy and mask-like. Most of our clients, they're wanting a formula that makes it look like it's their own skin and not like makeup.
So is this type of a concealer?
It actually does a little bit of concealing, and it really reflects your own skin tone. So it's a universal color, so it works for every complexion, which is really nice because then it's not about having to shade match with the primer. The primer is going to, again, achieve that three-dimensional fill-in, and then our foundation is what's going to give us the color correction. So now we're going to add just a little bit more Perfect Canvas right in this area here. And then I think she's good to go for foundation application. You always want to be light-handed too with these products. A little bit goes a long way. You can work it in with a brush or your fingertips. I love working it in with my fingertips just because the heat from your fingertips allows the product to literally melt into your skin. Okay, so now we have her Perfect Canvas applied. We're going to go ahead and go into applying her custom, perfectly created foundation. So this is known as our buffer brush. It is everyone's favorite brush because it buffs the foundation into your skin, but also makes it look flawless. So I'm going to take a little bit of her formula. I'm going to put it into one of my little wells, and I'm going to tap the brush into the well to pick up some of the product. Less is more. Always start with less. That's a great rule of thumb when you're doing makeup. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and brush the foundation on. As you can see, it's almost like painting. I'm going to brush it really lightly. Now, for people who don't have a lot of areas that they want to cover, you can use foundation just in certain areas. I know some of our clients have melasma, little different makeup challenges. The great thing about it is we are creating a formula that's going to work for every skin irregularity or any challenge that they may have. You want to make sure too, when you're applying it, you want to apply it very evenly and not glob on one area. Notice I'm just kind of spreading it along her face and blending it as I go. Because you can always go back and add more and layer more. You just don't want to put on too much in the beginning because it's a little bit more challenging to try to take off rather than reapply and add more. So I use my fingertips just to go around a little bit at the ridges of her nose. And notice how beautifully that is concealing any type of redness she has, any discoloration. Wait till you see in the mirror. It looks awesome. And then we're going to do her forehead. Again, I'm using that painting stippling motion. This buffer brush does all the work for you. So you don't really have to hardly do anything but just buff it in. A lot of clients, once they start using this buffer brush, they're like, where has this been my whole life?
It feels good.
Good. Okay, and now we're gonna go through with any type of detail brush. Those are usually like concealer brushes, anything where you wanna go through and just tweak little areas, but not apply too much foundation in that area. So I'm gonna take a little bit, I'm gonna go a little, anywhere that she's a little red, you're gonna apply a little bit of foundation and then just stipple and pat. A little bit just on any type of blemish as well. And then just a little bit again around the bridge of her nose. The little ridges. A lot of us have those little blood vessels around our nose, so it's helpful to have a little extra coverage there. And her brows look good. Everything is looking great. And then of course like chin, where she's a little bit more vascular. So what happens as we go through life, we get more blood vessels. They start to surface to our skin's top layer, and we tend to get more red. And redness is something that you always usually want to conceal. Do you find that like as you go through the day, does your face get red?
Definitely. That's something that I've struggled with the past 5-10 years. So it's gotten worse, definitely, as I've gotten older.
So balancing her skin out with all the nutrition that we added to her foundation, like the matte complex and the silkening complex, that's really going to help that foundation stay intact all day, so you're not going to feel that redness surging.
Oh, wonderful.
Now, stress, though, I can't help you out so much on. Okay, so the next step we're going to do is we are going to choose a complexion powder. Now, because our foundation did so much work, this is something we're going to lightly dust on because you don't need a lot.
Okay.
Which is nice because then it's going to minimize any look of the makeup look, you know, that mask-like finish. We want something that looks more natural. So we're going to use our powder brush and we're going to use that swirling motion. And then again, I'm always tapping because dust off any excess. And we're going to go ahead and swirl that on.
Now, can I use this without the foundation?
Absolutely. The only thing that you want to do to lock it in so it stays all day is use that primer first. And that primer will help bind with the powder, and that way it stays on. Because you, for example, if you put powder on and you walk outside and say it's windy, well, that powder doesn't have anything to adhere to.
Okay.
So anytime you want something to set makeup-wise, it's that liquid to powder. And the primer, even though it's like a whipped mousse, it's something more light and souffle. It doesn't have to be super liquidy, but it makes a big, big difference when you can use the primer with the powder. So I'm pinching my brush in little areas where I want additional coverage and for that powder to lay. And now you can see that she looks a lot more polished on the side that I applied powder. So it's kind of giving you a look of just being more complete and more of a finished look. But also you could even wear the liquid foundation and go run errands, go to the grocery store.
Wonderful.
And it gives you a little bit more coverage to conceal the redness. So then I'm going to apply it on her other side of her face. And you always, when you're applying your powder, you want to go down on your jawline. It's important because the neck oftentimes doesn't get any sun, which is actually a good thing. But we're really light right in through here. And then if we actually look down her neck, she gets darker. So we want that to blend all the way down in her neck. Because if you look at everybody, and you'll see this like really lightness underneath their neck. So that's why you always want to bring your powder down. Notice I didn't say liquid foundation.
Yeah, just the powder.
Just the powder. Because the liquid foundation is matching your skin perfectly and it matches your neck. But the powder is going to help blend everything together. So it's almost like it's pulling everything together. Okay, now we have our perfectly flawless face with our customized foundation and our complexion powder and a little bit of primer.
Great.